And a reminder that having a tennis ball would be helpful for today's class. Okay, please take a comfortable and upright seat, everyone, with your tennis ball nearby, or if the dog has the tennis ball, you got to get that away from them. And when you take a seat, set up your base so that you feel stable. So whatever support you need for your hips is what you should be using to feel stable. And I know for some of you that might mean that you're going to sit in a chair to start this practice. You might even practice some of the poses from a chair. That is completely fine and reasonable. So then you can close your eyes and bring your attention to this really blessed opportunity to practice together, and to practice with each other, to be here in community, in virtual community. Whatever the activities of your morning have been, you can set those aside now and welcome yourself to this moment, precious and unique as it is. Every moment is a fresh experience. And to sense the freshness of this experience, even though your senses have felt similar sensations in the past, we tune in to the sensations of the present moment, such as your hands resting in your lap. You can feel the pressure, gentle as it may be, of your hands, fingers, and thumbs resting in your lap. You might even notice that some areas of connection are a little bit more dense than others. Like the fingerprints might touch your legs, your knees, your thighs, but there may be places in your knuckles or the centers of your palms that don't touch. You might notice how the heels of your hands touch your knees, your thighs, and then how the wrists are not likely touching. Allowing yourself to come into awareness of this is a way to anchor your mind to the freshness of the present moment. And you may realize in practicing even something so simple and tangible as mindfulness of the hands, you might realize that your mind is either very present today, intermittently present, or not present at all. And you have to practice coming back and returning your attention to this simple sensation. So however your mind has been able to participate with appreciation for the chance to practice this kind of concentration, now please bring your hands together at your heart. And when your hands touch, notice the places that make contact from one hand to the other and the places that don't. So the space between the knuckles, for example, the space between the centers of your palms. Notice also the places that have contact. What is the temperature from one fingerprint to the other? We're using these sensations to be here, to be anchored in what is arising in the here and now. But for even a few minutes, several times a day, we narrow the aperture of our attention down to something so present, so accessible, so within our reach, that we can regain some inner leadership with the mind for all that is intangible and beyond our reach right now. You may chant with me. Sahana bhavatu, sahana bhunaktu, savidyam karavavai, tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vibhishavai, sahana vavatu, sahana bhunaktu, savidyam karavavai, tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vibhishavai, sahana vavatu, sahana bhunaktu, savidyam karavavai, tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vibhishavai. Om Shanti Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands. And please open your eyes. And I'm going to ask Rebecca if you could ask the students, for anybody who does not have a tennis ball or a suitable something other, like a melt ball or a lacrosse ball or something, not a golf ball, too tiny, too firm. For anyone who doesn't have that, could you please let Rebecca know so that I know how many of you I'm speaking to about the alternative method for the tennis balls. And then please come up to standing with your tennis ball on the floor.
That's a message to me.
When you come up to stand, you're going to place the tennis ball under the arch of your right foot. You go like this. And when you place that, I'm going to be asking you to kind of step onto it like a little pulsation and then to step back from it. And we're going to do this a few times while Rebecca gets the information from you who doesn't have a tennis ball. And you can put me on the floor if you want to.
Yeah.
So when you pulse forward onto the tennis ball, you are increasing the pressure on the tennis ball. And when you pulse backwards, you are decreasing that pressure. And I'm going to ask you to do that slowly enough that you can sense pressure deepening and then pressure resolving. So how many don't have tennis balls?
I haven't gotten it.
Okay. How lovely. Your dogs are feeling jealous that you have a tennis ball. So rock forward and rock back a few times more. We put the tennis ball at the center of the front of the arch, closest to your toes. So it's forward most on what you would think of as your arch. Kind of right behind the place where you stand on your tiptoes, right behind the place where you stand on a ladder. And just watch this deepening of the pressure and the slow release of the pressure. It may not be obvious to you until your attention becomes more subtle there, but each time you deepen your pressure, you're shifting the circulation in that very spot, less circulation. And then when you lean back, you're increasing circulation to that spot. You're actually causing a little flow to happen in the circulation inside the arch of your foot. Let's do that one more time where the tennis ball is now. And then roll back onto your left foot and take the tennis ball under the center of your right arch. Now, for some of you, that's going to mean that neither your toes nor your heel are touching the floor. For others, it's going to mean it's easier to put your toes on the floor, and for others, it's the heel. But I think you can balance on your left leg and bring the pressure forward and back. So we're in the center of your arch now, and that means that we're in the center of the place in our standing poses that you're going to want to be able to lift the arch. So notice what's happening in the arch of your foot. How much tension? How much ease? What information is your foot providing you right now about the state of things in your body or your mind? We're going to do this 3 times more at the center of the right arch. Make the pulsation that you're doing consistent, and loving, and kind. And now we're going to move the tennis ball towards the back of your arch, which for me means I'm going to be standing on the tennis ball like I'm standing on a high heel shoe. So I put my other foot forward because I'm going to be now leaning into take the pressure off my right heel and then put the pressure back on. And so where I'm standing on the tennis ball, I'm just at the front of the heel where the arch muscles begin. And then I roll forward, less pressure. And then you can roll back, increasing the pressure. And again, let the rhythm be something just so kind and so nourishing for you. This is a massage for your foot, but it's also stimulating the acupressure points that will be getting information all the way up to the full spectrum of your body and your brain. And one more time, I'm going to ask you now to stand on the tennis ball as if you're standing on a high heel shoe. Tone your right hip muscles and see if you could balance on your right leg, just for a few moments. Of course, if you have a new tennis ball and it's extremely firm, that might be painful, in which case you can touch your toes to the floor and not put so much weight on it. If you have an older tennis ball and it squishes quite a bit, that might be easier to balance on. If you have a dog slobbered tennis ball, it's probably slippery. Maybe you're falling off the tennis ball. And then step backwards with your left foot, step backwards with your right foot, and come to mountain pose to see how your 2 feet are doing. And to notice any change in the felt sense of grounding for yourself. You might even notice the entire right leg, what's different there from your left leg. And then let's do the other side. So even though this takes time in our practice, it's such a valuable thing to do. Put the tennis ball at the front of your left arch, please. And this is something that you could repeat during the day as a kind of self-care for when you need to feel more grounded. So this rocking forward to back. When you rock in, notice the density of pressure getting more dense. When you rock back, the lessening of pressure. And try to make that rhythmic enough that you feel like it's an act of kindness for your brain to feel the rhythm of the present moment, like music. There's a note for you, I believe. Sorry. That's all right. So this rocking front to back, a couple times more, about 3 times more, okay? And you might have 2 really different experiences of your feet, left foot to right foot. So I always say like equal respect for both, and for the experience of one foot being more difficult than the other, not just equal respect, but then even more compassion, dedication, or interest to the difficult foot. I call that your opportunity foot. And now let's take the tennis ball to the middle of your arch. So for some of you, that's going to mean that you're standing on it and you've got your heel and toes on the floor because that's the length of your foot. For others, it's going to be that you've got your heel on the floor, but not your toes. And we're going to rock forward and also rock back. And again, let it just be so loving. You can even start relaxing any unnecessary tension in your fingers, in your thumbs. You might sense how your breath starts to have a rhythm. It's not the same rhythm as rocking because that would be quite fast breathing, but you might have one inhale for a couple of rocks front to back, and one exhale for a couple of rocks front to back. And the next time that you rock backwards, go ahead and then step the tennis ball under the heel of your foot. So just in front of the heel, I should say, like you're wearing a high heel shoe. I know some of you haven't done that. I don't wear high heel shoes. I did it a couple times in my life, but it didn't work out that well. So most of you know I only have flip-flops. That's my shoe closet. I have 3 pairs of flip-flops. So where I'm placing, I'm putting my foot back so you can see where the ball is under my left arch, which is actually my right arch, but it's left for you guys looking. And then I'm going to ask you to rock forward, take the pressure off of that part of your foot, and then rock back. And again, just in such a loving manner. And the process of what you're doing right now is also causing a rehydration to go up, like you're re-stimulating through the myofascial sheath, the acupressure points. You're giving yourself this like bath, as it were, inside the skin, myofascial and muscle. And the circulatory principle, the water element, is also being moved. So one more time, rock forward. Now as you rock backwards, step your right foot back behind your left, and please come to mountain pose and notice the earth element in your body and the water element in your body. Great, now let's see if the arches can be more visible even to us, right? If you take a wide stance, you've got your legs the length of one of your leg lengths. So for me, that's a shorter stride than for other people. So make it according to your leg length and come down to Prasarita Uttanasana. It's completely fine to use blocks to make the floor closer, if that helps with your practice, something like this. It's also a good day to put a block under your head if you have enough blocks and enough flexibility. And then take a look over at your left arch and at your right arch and just check and see what is the quality of lift for the inner arches. You can increase that lift in the inner arches by pressing all 5 toes for both feet down. And then root into your heels and tone your calf muscles. Some of your arch muscles go up to the back of your calves, a muscle called flexor hallucis longus, for example, which starts at the big toe. So press the big toes down to help lift the inner arches, tone the calves to continue that lift of the arch system. And then allow your breathing to reflect the intention here for grounding. Even you can imagine on the inhale, you are sending the breath down into your footprints. And on the exhale, you're drawing the arches up. Draw up through the inseam of your legs towards the center of your pelvis. And then inhale and send the breath down into your footprints again. And exhale, press into your big toes, lift your inner arches, draw up through the inseam of the legs, toning the inner thigh muscles. And then again, inhale down through your legs into your footprints. And one more time, exhale, press into the big toes and lift your inner arches, draw the inner edge of the legs up toward the center of the pelvis. Now place your hands on your hips. And please rise up to standing. And turn your right foot out to the right for warrior 2 pose. So when you do this, if you started with your feet parallel, let me move this so you can see better. When you start with the feet parallel, you're going to turn your right foot to the right and then pick up the left heel and just slide it slightly back. So your left leg knows that you're going to go to your right. Now the block is irrelevant, so I'll place it here, hopefully out of the way. And then please bend your right knee to come into warrior 2 for the legs. And I'd like us to do this a few times, also like rocking. Right? So as you exhale, come into your right leg. Maybe you float the arms out if you enjoy that. And as you inhale, rise up to the starting position. Exhale, warrior 2. Inhale to your starting position. Exhale, warrior 2, gaze to your right. Inhale to the starting position. Exhale down to warrior 2. Notice your right heel, your right toes. Rise up to your starting position. Exhale, warrior 2. As you notice your right heel and toes, remember where the tennis ball was. One more time, come up to your starting position. Now we're going to stay in Warrior Two. So exhale and come down to Virabhadrasana 2. Gaze out over your right fingertips. And if you have your balance, which I trust that most of you can balance with your eyes closed, then take your eyes down into your feet. And just notice the memory your feet have of the tennis ball. And let's imagine the in-breath going down your legs into your footprints. And on the exhale, root your big toes, lift your inner arches, and draw up through the inseam of your left leg, up through the inner line of your right leg, into the center of your pelvis. So when you inhale, I'm going to add to this pathway for the breath. Let's imagine the inhale goes from the back of the sacrum down both legs and reaches your toes and heels. And the exhale begins at your big toes and comes up through the inner arches, inseam of the legs, and then zips the low belly up towards your belly button. And then the inhale flows down the back of your sacrum, down both legs to your feet. And the exhale from your big toes to your inner arches, up the inseam of the legs into the inner low belly. And with this inhale, straighten your right leg. Bring your hands to your heart. Let's make the feet parallel. We're going to try the other side. So if you turn your left foot out to the left directly, then pick up your right heel, slide it slightly back, and set it down so that your hips know you're going to Warrior Two to your left. Okay, with an inhale, here in your starting position. Exhale, come down, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, rise up to your starting position. Exhale, Warrior Two. And think of it again like a rocking, a kind of pulsation that you can synchronize between your breath and your body. When you're coming down on the exhale, I know that might seem unusual that we're coming back up and going back down, but this pulsation is something that you can make very smooth, and it has a rhythmic nourishment to your brain. Let's do it once more. Inhale up to your center, your starting position. And then exhale, come down to Warrior Two, and you may close your eyes. We're going to stay a little while. And let's picture again the pathway of the breath. So on the inhale, press down through your legs into your feet. Feel all 5 toes reaching into the earth. On the exhale, lift your inner arches, draw up through the inseams of your legs, and then zip the low belly up. Let the inhale flow down the back of your sacrum, your tailbone, down both legs into your feet. And the exhale again, just be slow and steady. Big toes, inner arches, the inseam of the legs, the zipper of the low belly. We are working on stamina and grace, and we are staying long enough that you can establish the breath and the image of the breath. Let's do 2 more breath cycles here, please. And then as your next inhale, bring your palms together at your heart, straighten your left leg. Let's make the feet parallel once again and find out what Prasarita Padottanasana feels like now. So come over the tops of your thighs. As you bow forward, use your blocks to make the floor closer if you need to. Or stack your blocks for your head if that's your preferred way of doing it. And I will ask you now to watch the breath in the lower belly. And I'm going to be specific about it. So on the inhale, imagine the breath flowing down the legs and even going from the back of the sacrum down to the feet. On your exhale, lift your inner arches. You can kind of see them with the side mirrors of your eyes. You also can feel it with the mind on the muscles. And bring the exhale up the inner edge of the legs, and then tone the low belly with the exhale. So you really sense you're zipping up towards the belly button. And the inhale flowing down the back of the sacrum, down your legs. And do that one more time. Great. And then please walk your hands back to your hips, rise up to standing, and then come down to sitting with your tennis ball nearby. I'm going to show you the next thing. So yesterday I was talking with you guys about digestion, and I'm going to show you where I'm going to put the tennis ball before we do it. It's good on this view, so keep this as the camera. The tennis ball is going to go right here. Okay, so it's a contrasting color to my tights. Hopefully that is clear enough to see. So if you were to trace down on the outside of your shin, there's a bone right there. And then there's like a little soft spot. Okay, this is on the stomach meridian in Chinese medicine. We're going to put the tennis ball there. So I go like this. It's under my right outer shin, which I know is my left, but it's my right when I'm teaching. And I'm just going to rest it there for a few moments and get comfortable with the pressure point that I've got right there. Okay, see if you can find that. And then what you do, if having two legs on the tennis ball is too much weight, you pick one up. And then you can roll slightly. You also can have both legs and you roll them slightly on the tennis ball. And you might find the place that's like, it has the most operatic zing. And when you're on that spot, then make like a little seesaw, like this. So I'm tipping my knees down. The ball is now staying steady. And then feet down and knees down. So this is like the tennis ball is the fulcrum of the seesaw of the knees, shins, and feet. And I know this could be painful for some of you. Is it painful for you, Rebecca? Okay. It might be tender. You're on the stomach point on the stomach meridian. I think actually we're on stomach 35 or 36, but I would welcome somebody who knows better than I do to tell us. What I recall from this acupuncture point in all the treatments I've had in acupuncture is when I had to regain my health at a really deep level, like after my blood cell infection, which was 2 years prior, this was a common acupuncture point for them to re-stimulate my vitality. I considered it essential. It's also on the stomach meridian, and we are talking about digestion yesterday, and we'll probably continue to as this homestay thing goes on, because we're more sedentary, our digestion might be adversely affected. We're more stressed, that will affect digestion adversely. You might make different food choices that can affect your digestion adversely. Okay, so let's release the tennis ball on this one. And what I'm going to suggest you do is just sit for a moment with the knees bent and the feet in front of you. So you're like, notice the difference from one of the shins to the other. This place might feel like it's like alive, like flowering, like the flowers that Carol put on the camera at the beginning of our class. Now take the tennis ball for the other shin, so you can see where mine is going. And you can do two legs if that's not too much weight for you on the tennis ball. Otherwise, you step 1 foot sideways and just do one leg. Okay, and then we can first roll on the tennis ball. It does require some coordination. You probably have your left hand on the floor somewhere of support to you. And then find the spot that has the most operatic zing and pause there. We're going to do the seesaw. So knees down, feet down. This is not an easy place in the body to even feel when it's tender without having contact. So you come to know it by direct experience. You have somebody in the waiting room, honey. You come to know it by direct experience, which we're having right now. So we're going to rock a few times more. Try to imagine that you're nourishing a system, a vital organ system. All the organs, of course, are collaborating with each other, and there are people who are expert at discussing that, like in Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Qigong. I'm not expert at discussing that, but I like to reference it because it's so provocative, so true, so profound, that we can have this leadership inside, even with the organ system. How we think, how we breathe, what our attitude is towards the organs, and how we stimulate these regions of the body through yoga, and also acupressure, which is what this is here. Let's release this one. Place your feet out and just come to notice how that is. And then we're going to take this back up to a couple standing poses. So put the tennis ball aside. Please come back up to standing. And let's do it from the sun salutation for this, because I also want to be able to move your vitality. So come up to stand for Surya Namaskar. Place your 2 feet and 2 blocks at the front of your yoga mat and come into mountain pose. And join your hands together at your heart. So we're going to use the tippy toe part of the sun salutation now. So we'll be going up on the toes, we'll be coming down on the toes. You can't see my toes right now because of where my blocks are, but a tippy toe is going to go up slowly, slowly to the high point of the heels. It's going to come down slowly, slowly to the heels again. High point of the toes, I should say. Okay, so hands together. And then let's begin. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Raise your heart and your gaze. And then exhale, sit down to chair pose. And in your chair pose, bring your awareness down into your footprints and imagine where the tennis balls were giving information to your footprints earlier. And on the inhale, though that seems a little bit awkward or maybe different or unusual, take the in-breath down from your sacrum, through your legs, into your feet. And on the exhale, press into your big toes, lift your inner arches, the inseam of your legs, and then zip the low belly in and up. Exhale again. And then inhale, rise up to standing slowly. Press down into both feet. Keeping your legs stable, exhale, bow forward to Uttanasana. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Exhale, step backwards with your left foot. If your blocks are on the small or medium setting, put them on the tall setting now, tip them up. Okay, so you are in a basic lunge, but the torso has not yet lifted. Press down into your fingertips on the blocks and further root your tailbone towards your left heel and then towards your right heel. So the pelvis makes like a loop, a water wheel, and then bring your torso upright. So it should feel to you like you've got this shared responsibility between your front leg and your back leg. Inhale, raise your arms up. Now we're going to use the in-breath and the out-breath again like a little rocking. So on the inhale, rise up like a wave in the ocean, straighten your right leg. And then exhale, bend your right knee, but don't put all of your weight forward into your right leg. Keep the left leg strong. So inhale, rise up, straighten your right leg. Squeeze the muscles of both thighs. And then exhale, bend your right knee without just pitching forward in your pose. Keep the left leg important. Inhale, up again. And then exhale, bend your right knee. Pause here, simmer in the in-breath. And then exhale, sweep your arms wide. Your blocks are on the tall setting right now. Tip them down to the medium or low setting if you're using that setting. And inhale, step forward with your left foot. And now take the right foot back. Tip your blocks up to the tall setting so you have them directly under your shoulders. Press down into your fingertips. We're staying here to really establish the action of the pelvis. Root your tailbone down like cat pose. You may already feel the hip flexors on your right leg. Then inhale, rise up. So we want your body weight to feel evenly distributed between your back leg and your front leg. Now let's inhale to straighten the front leg like a wave going up in the ocean. And exhale, bend your front knee like a wave, remembering the ocean. Inhale to go up. Exhale to come down. Keep your right leg important, please. Inhale to rise. And once more, exhale, bend your left leg, and now simmer for the inhalation. And with your exhale, sweep your arms wide, come forward, and this time, touch the blocks down, take them from the tall to the medium setting, and use them for your hands for downward dog pose. When you step back into this dog pose, gaze back at your feet and try to playfully remember the experience of the tennis balls. Press into all 10 toes. And as you breathe in, go from your sacrum down through your leg bones into your heels and toes with the inhale. Then on the exhale, press into your big toes and roll forward to plank pose. And as you arrive in plank pose, further zip the low belly in and up. Inhale, reach backwards to downward dog pose. Take the breath down your leg bones into your heels, into your toes. Exhale, press into your big toes, roll forward. Check out your arches as you come forward, and then bring your gaze down between your thumbs. Again, inhale, downward facing dog pose. Take the breath down the back of your sacrum to your heels and toes. And once more, exhale, press into your big toes, roll forward. Now on your blocks, you're having a high plank pose. Gaze down between your thumbs. And keeping your right big toe and left big toe strong on the floor, check in with your arches right now. And then very slowly, touch your knees down to the floor, very lightly. Put the 2 blocks aside. And come down onto your stomach for cobra pose. And in this cobra pose, place your hands beneath your shoulders. Start with your forehead on the floor, please. Press down with the tops of both feet, both kneecaps, both thighs. Root your tailbone. And then as you inhale, roll up to cobra. Bhujangasana. And as you exhale, roll down to pranam. These are like a wave in the ocean. On the inhale, we're going to be rolling up, cobra pose. At the high point of your cobra, you might lift your gaze. And then exhale to roll down. At the low point of pranam, we take the gaze inward. Inhale to roll up, Bhujangasana. Rolling down, pranam. Once more, Bhujangasana. Pranam. Make a pillow of your hands. Rest your forehead there. And from the inside, from the inner eye, notice what your experience is from the inside. So gazing inward, gazing downward. What's happening now in the inner landscape of your body? And of course, we have this thing we call the dense body, the Ananaya Kosha, so you can notice your muscles and bones. We also have this pranic body, the pranic pathways through the body. Notice even the subtle effervescence that might be happening here and there in your body. Okay, now we're going to use the tennis ball in a way that might upset some of you. So I'm going to show with myself. You can walk up to kneeling so you can see your computer screen. I'm going to get some water while you're doing that. Okay, so another place that we're holding tension is here at the outer thigh bone. So this is, if you touch the bone at the outer thigh, the bony part that, if you stand in a certain way, that bony part sticks out. That's called the greater trochanter. We're going to put the tennis ball just below that, and we're going to be lying on our side. So when I do this, because we're already here on the floor, we're going to this particular thing now. When I do this, you will not see the tennis ball, but it's going to be right here at my outer. So here is my trochanter, and I put the tennis ball lower than that, like this. Okay, so I'm going to place it. And then I lie down like I'm just having a little nap on my tennis ball. It's helpful if you bend the leg so that there you are, and you can feel where the tennis ball is. If you rock a little bit forward and rock a little bit back, you're massaging the muscles right below the trochanter. So I've got my knees bent, and that lets me roll over the tennis ball a few times, right around and just underneath the trochanter. This might not be your favorite yoga experience ever, but I think the value of it and the release of it can be really palpable. Is that tender, Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. If it is tender, you could try folding your yoga mat in half 2 or 3 times. So you've got more padding under the tennis ball. You can also try putting a blanket on your mat and then your tennis ball. You can also whimper. We can't hear you because you're muted right now. I can hear Rebecca whimpering. Yeah. Okay, so you've got that. Roll through one more time. And then roll forward so your knees touch the floor. Push down with your left hand and bring yourself up to notice. Okay, that was an experience, right? Let's do the other side. So the tennis ball again is going to go, here's my trochanter bone. The tennis ball is going to be lower than my trochanter on my thigh bone. All right, so you place it. And then you lie down. You're so happy to be here with us. You can't imagine doing anything other than this right now. And we roll on the tennis ball. If you're not doing it perfectly as I am, please know that we're all improvising in our own ways right now, and that's appropriate. The roll as your body can. Also, a reminder, if it's extremely tender, do less. Wear padded bicycle shorts with padding at the outer hips and thighs. You got to put that padding in there because they pad the butt, not the outer hips and thighs. Or double or triple your yoga mat by folding it. Put a blanket on the floor and then your tennis ball. So in other words, the options did not include grin and bear it. That's not so helpful for your body. The grin and bear it method for this is not that helpful. We don't want your body to be flinching in response to the sensations. Okay, there you go. Let's do it twice more, rolling front to back. And then this time as you roll your knees down, press into your right hand, come up off of your tennis ball. And you can say, praise God, that part is over. But in your memory, remember that you can do the feet anytime today. You can also come back to the outer shins and the outer thighs right here. There's more to do there, but we're going to go up to standing again and go back to the sun salutation because I think you're going to have some freedom right now for your triangle poses. So please place your blocks again like the sun salutation. Step up to standing. Come up to your full height. Join your hands together at your heart. And try to feel what's happening from your outer trochanters down into your hips and heels. And then at the same time, what happens from your big toes to your inner arches, up through the inner thighs, into your lower belly. There may be a sense of the reciprocity between that which flows down from the sacrum, down the outer thighs, to the outer heels, to the toes. That which flows from the big toes, up the inner arches, up the inner legs, into the inner belly. And so let's now inhale, sweep your arms up and gaze up. And then exhale, bow forward to Uttanasana straight away this time. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Now with your exhale, step your left foot straight back. That's your basic lunge. Turn the blocks so that they are high again. And this is very specific. I want you to have the blocks tall so you can press down into your fingertips and use your cat pose pelvis. So lengthen your tailbone down, sweep the low belly in. And from that place, straighten your right leg. So it should almost feel like you're doing bad yoga, like you're rounding your back, and you've heard teachers say forever not to round the back. But I'm saying round your spine like a cat pose. And then slowly turn your left outer heel to the floor. And keeping the tailbone rooted towards your left heel, start to rotate your pelvis to your left, rotate your belly to your left, rotate your rib cage to your left, and then raise your left arm up to triangle pose. And also raise your gaze. And then let's practice the pathway of the breath again. So the inhale from your sacrum down through the outer thighs and the backs of the legs into your heels, into your toes. And on the exhale, press into your big toes and lift your inner arches to draw up through the inseam of your legs to the inner belly. If turning your gaze up is difficult this morning, you can continue this practice with your gaze down and really focus on the breath pathway. Imagine the inhale washing down the back of your sacrum, the outer hips, outer thighs, the back of your thighs into your feet. And the exhale comes from the big toes, up your inner arches, the inseams of your legs, and gently tones your inner belly. And then with your next inhale, start releasing your pose. Bring your left hand down to your block, pivot your left heel up, and let's step forward. So bring your left foot forward to meet your right, put the blocks back on the medium setting. Enjoy a little bow in Uttanasana. And then let's go to the other side. So bring your heart forward, step your left foot back, or right foot back, excuse me. Come to the high point of your blocks. And again, I'm going to ask you to, almost like you're doing bad yoga, you're going to round your spine. So press into those two blocks and make your cat pose spine. And then straighten your left leg. So I know forever teachers have said to keep the spine straight in a pose like this, but I am actually asking you to round the spine like cat pose. And then turn your right heel down. Establish your right heel, rotate your pelvis to your right, rotate your low belly to your right, your rib cage, your heart, and then your right arm. And you may gaze up towards your right thumb. You may choose to gaze down towards your left foot. Whatever choice you make for your gaze, I'd like you to still sense the breath in this process. So the inhale is going from the sacrum and the outer hips down into your heels and then your toes. And on the exhale, press into your big toes, lift your inner arches, tone the inner thighs and into your low belly as well. It almost might feel to you like you don't actually need your left hand to be on your block, that your legs are grounded enough that the left arm could sort of dangle like the trunk of an elephant leisurely. We want the legs to feel that responsible for right now, and also that the low belly has this responsibility. And then with your next exhale, release your right arm slowly down, gaze down, pivot your right heel up, and let's step forward, tip the blocks back so that you have them on the medium or the small setting, and enjoy a deep bow in your Uttanasana. And then from your Uttanasana, please place your hands on your blocks so that they're on the medium setting. That makes them a little bit more like handles, and step backwards to downward dog pose. Okay, and here in this downward dog pose, we're going to use the breath. Similarly, let's press into the big toes and please exhale, roll forward to plank pose. Inhale, reach backwards, downward facing dog. Exhale, roll forward to plank pose. Once more, inhale backwards, downward facing dog. And exhale, roll forward to plank pose. Lightly touch your knees down. Put your blocks aside and come again onto your belly in Makrasana. So that is the position where we place the two palms like a pillow for the head. And let your body go from exertion to ease. We're going to stay on the floor for the next little while. I'm telling my camera lady so she'll know we're going to be on the floor. Let your body come to some ease, because in a moment we're going to be stretching your quadriceps and your hip flexors, and that should feel very joyful to you, but maybe not. Okay, so please come up to your elbows now, like we call this slumber party pose. Some of you know that from either the retreats at Brighton Bush or the classes here. This is the slumber party pose, and we call this one the advanced slumber party pose, something like that. And I know there are no slumber parties right now. Kids cannot go to other kids' homes for slumber parties. It's hard to say no to such things. But this slumber party pose is for your yoga practice. So point your toes behind you and come up to your elbows. Let's put the hands in prayer position. Now press down into your elbows and gently lift your low belly off the floor, or lighten the way your low belly touches the floor. So you're back bending because that's the shape of the pose, but we're also asking the low belly to have this kind of tone. Hopefully your tailbone feels like it can root down a little bit more. And it's not just that the butt muscles are taking the tailbone down. It really is that the inner belly rolls up to support that wheel in the pelvis. Kind of like a backwards, when you're riding your bicycle backwards. And then see if you can slowly, without collapsing the pelvis, bend your right knee so your foot comes up. If you have the urge to collapse your lower back, that would be a sign that your hip flexors on your right leg might be more tight than your lower belly muscles are strong. Now exhale, take the right foot back down. And keeping the elbows firmly on the floor and the low belly toned and gently lifted, bend your left leg. And if again you have the urge to jostle your hips left to right or to collapse the lower back, it might be that your hip flexor system is tighter than you would want, and tighter than the low belly is strong. So the low belly would give up on that and you would end up collapsing into your lumbar spine like a hammock. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to press up to table pose and then come to your hands and knees or close to your computer screen to watch me. Okay, so it's going to go like this. I was just waiting for you guys to be close enough to see. Rebecca can tell me, is it all right?
Perfect.
So when you tone the low belly and then you bend your right leg, you're going to reach back and hold the top of your foot. So that process right there, I did not collapse the lower back towards the floor, which would look like this. And that would not be as effective. And yet I realized that for some people, reaching the foot back here feels like it's really far away. Notice that I'm holding with my hand so my thumb goes down. You can try this now with your hand or with your yoga strap, or sometimes people hold on to their yoga tights, like this is what they can reach. So you begin on your elbows in slumber party pose. Lift the low belly up from the floor or lighten the pressure of the lower abdomen on the floor. Bend your right leg. Keep the left arm steady as you reach your right hand back. And then you can actually press your right foot into your hand. So rather than this feeling that you have to pull your foot up to your butt, I'm going to ask you to press it back because you'll open your right front hip, tone your right butt, at the same time opening the right chest, right shoulder, right side of the heart. And then as you exhale, release the right foot down, make your pillow for your hands for your head, and let your back come to something symmetrical. But also notice now in the subtle body, the energy moving down your right leg. Let's try the other side. So you're going to come up to your elbows, slumber party pose. Energize your legs, lift the low belly in and slightly up. And then bend your left knee. Reach back with your left hand. And press the top of your left foot into your left hand. Keep the right elbow steady. As you're breathing in through the nose, down to your low belly. And out through the nose from your low belly. Just monitor the tiny responsibilities you have here and there. So the energy of the left leg, the lift of your left and right low belly, the firmness of your right elbow, and permission for the left shoulder, left chest, and heart to open. And then release your left foot and come back down to Makrasana, pausing to notice how the energy moves down your left leg now. And not just in the physical body, the annamaya kosha, but also in the subtle body, the pranamaya kosha. Let's get a sense of the medicine you're offering your body, kind of clearing these channels, these waterways, these pathways in the lower body, meridians, we can call them that, marma points in Ayurveda. Now, just to see if there's been any improvement in a familiar pose for yourself. While you're on your stomach, please reach back and interlace your fingers. Roll your shoulders back. And on your inhale, come up to Salambhasana, the pose called Flying Locust Pose. So when you lift, try to lift your shoulders, your chest, your heart, and your head, but keep your legs grounded. And notice if there's any sense of freedom in this pose compared to on a different day, how you may have experienced the same pose. And then let's exhale and lower down. Place your hands beneath your shoulders, please. Press up to table pose, and then to sitting or kneeling. And I know you've had to watch a number of things this morning, and I'm going to show you one more thing to get us ready for a way to reset the sacral rhythm in the body. So please come forward once more to your computer. Okay. I earlier got these blocks from Rebecca because they're not the same color as my tights. It feels like these ones are too close in color, and I want you to see the contrast. So these two blocks, I'm going to be placing them under my pelvis on a little diagonal like that. Let's go to the floor camera. So they'll be on a diagonal to each other, making a little triangle space in between them. Let me show you like this. Okay. And that triangle space between them is where the sacrum goes. Okay, so please watch as I lie down. Okay, so I put the blocks on the flat setting. You lift the hips up. You want the blocks to go under, so the corners of the blocks are touching or near to touching near your tailbone. And then you place your hips so your sacrum is not on the blocks, but the back of the trochanter is. So when I pick up my knees, I can feel the outside of my thigh bone is right here. And that's how I would like you to position yourself on these two blocks right now. We are going to do a little bit of movement here, so you'll be able to massage the sides of the sacrum. And then we'll do a little bit of resting in this position, so you'll get this craniosacral reset. And this will be our pathway towards Shavasana. So set up your blocks so that they won't slide out from under you. They're not going to be moving. And this is called tick-tock. You pick up the knees and bring them towards the chest. And then slowly lower your toes back to the floor. Just the toes is enough. Lift your knees, bring them towards your chest. Notice that the low belly can draw in, but we don't want to round the back completely here. Just be thoughtful that the blocks don't slide away from you. And then lower the toes back towards the floor while keeping the low belly gently toned. And repeat that a few times more, like a rhythm, again, that feels like kindness or nourishment to you. So what you're doing there is rolling across the back side of the trochanter, that large part of your thigh bone. And we're kind of near to the inner edge of the sacrum, though not directly on it. As the knees roll in and then the toes roll down, notice any place where the density of sensation, the pressure is changing slightly or greatly. Now the next time that you bring the knees up, go ahead and pause where your knees are just hovering vertically to your hips. So you have the sacrum levitating between the two blocks right now. For those of you for whom your hamstrings are pretty limber, you can take the legs straight up in this position. For those of you for whom your hamstrings are not that limber, I'm going to recommend you keep the knees bent and have them hovering just over your hips. Notice if there's any possibility of greater ease in the breathability of the low belly. And please quietly touch your toes back to the floor. Pick up your hips now. Take the 2 blocks and place them. You can put your feet into Baddha Konasana. Now let me be specific. I want the blocks to stay on the flat setting. Your hips are on the floor between the 2 blocks, a little bit diagonal. And when you take the feet to Baddha Konasana, you're going to feel like you're being restricted by the blocks. Right? So you tip the knees out, and the blocks are putting pressure on the trochanter bones. So that changes the dynamics for your Baddha Konasana. This is going to be a short-term Baddha Konasana, so see if you can relax into that. In fact, the blocks aren't even able to touch the outer thigh, the muscle of the outer thigh, because of where the block meets the trochanters. It's possible that your sacrum actually feels lighter on the floor right now, not heavier. And maybe the lumbar spine starts to drape back towards the floor. Notice to what extent the deep low belly might relax unnecessary tension. And even now become curious about the pelvic floor. If it feels any more ease, maybe more trusting, more receptive, or perhaps less apprehensive. And then please float your knees up so that the blocks are going to be either set aside completely now for Shavasana, or you can do your preferred way of doing Baddha Konasana for your Shavasana as well. So come to lying flat like a starfish. Or set yourself up for your designer Shavasana if you would like to do that. If you choose to lie flat like a starfish, I'm going to ask you to notice how you have influenced the way in which your body parts will now reach the ground. Particularly, you've been influencing the lower hemisphere of your body today. So notice the way your hips, hamstrings, calves, heels connect to the ground beneath you. And even notice if there's any change in how much of your lumbar spine rises away from the floor and how far it goes. The lumbar spine is not likely to touch the floor in Shavasana here. But notice if it feels like it's a little closer to the floor, a little bit less of a big back bend in the lower back. And then allow your breath to be very gentle right now. We've been working on these meridians in the lower body: kidney, liver, spleen, stomach, gallbladder. And I'm going to speak to your organs when you're resting in Shavasana. And so as you rest, bring your awareness to the right rib cage, and just under your right rib cage, the largest organ there, your liver. And to the liver, I'm going to ask you to offer some appreciation and to use the method of the half smile. Give a half smile to your liver to say, thank you. Thank you for all the processing that you're doing for me. Thank you to the liver for its duties. Also that the liver is doing the liver job, not the kneecap job. The liver doesn't substitute because it specializes in what it does. And imagine from your right liver a kind of energetic goodness that goes down the inseam of your right leg. Arriving near to your big toe is a liver point all the way at the end of the meridian. And imagine that meridian, that pathway is also more open, so your liver receives the goodness of that as well. And also under your right rib cage on the front of the body, near your liver, is your gallbladder. Let's make a half smile at the gallbladder. Thank the gallbladder for its duties. It specializes in what it does. The gallbladder is not also trying to be your elbow. And appreciating this gallbladder meridian. Imagine this also running down through your leg and arriving somewhere near the pinky toe. And a pathway back from the pinky toe towards the gallbladder. In the backside of your right rib cage, you have your right kidney and your right adrenal glands. Imagining they've each been given the message and the nourishment from your practice. From the right kidney, imagine that flow that goes down the inner body, down the inseam of your right leg, and arriving under the arch of your foot where the tennis ball began at the beginning of your practice. Imagine that also returning towards your right kidney, this quiet river of goodness flowing inside. In the center of your mid-torso, come to your stomach now. Remember that we had the tennis balls at the outer shins earlier, so from the stomach you can imagine a pathway that goes down both legs, outer shins, and goes on. And imagine that return to the stomach as well. So this pathway is like bi-directional, nourishing out and also the nourishment of the return. So moving from the stomach over to the left side of the rib cage, and imagine the largest organs over here, spleen. Spleen is often associated with fear and worry. Imagine the spleen channel moving down the legs, inner edge of the legs, and passing the center of the inner ankle. And I can't say where it goes from there. I just know this really important 3-point spot above the ankle is kidney, liver, and spleen. And imagine the pathway back up to the spleen to give this nourishment, this bi-directional nourishment. And then near to the spleen is your pancreas. You can imagine the necessity of the pancreas doing the pancreas job. The pancreas is also not trying to be your earlobe. It is doing the pancreas responsibilities. You can give a half smile to the pancreas. And then the back side of the left rib cage is your left kidney, left adrenal gland. And you can imagine from the left rib cage flowing down your left leg, also passing that 3-point spot above the left ankle, the kidney, liver, spleen location, which has a name that I can't remember because of my brain injury. I do have amnesia. But it goes beyond that spot in the foot and goes to where you had the tennis ball at the beginning of your practice. And imagine that bi-directional pathway back to nourishing your left kidney. Allow the organs to feel really recognized and appreciated by your gazing downward with a half smile. Can include now the small intestine, large intestine, colon, the bladder and the organs of procreation. Om, my love, Gurudev Namo. 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 Hari Om, Hari Hari Om. You may thoughtfully bring a little more awareness to your breath and your body. Please wiggle your fingers and your toes. Notice the quality of your mind and your heart. Please bend your knees and transition to your side on your way back up to sitting. When you come up to sit, I'd like you to take the same meditation seat you started in so you can feel any difference that's happened for you in your seat. When you come upright, also notice the quality of your mind, the quality of your heart, and the felt sense of the inner vital organs, right? This organ family in the abdomen. Just bring your hands together at your heart. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. And now I'm going to come up to the computer where we get a chance to visit with each other.